We need to have a serious conversation about Tottenham Hotspur. Thomas Frank is an incredible manager. Tottenham have done well to bring in a top manager like Thomas Frank, but he will suffer the same fate as Ange and all the managers before him if Tottenham and Daniel Levy do not get their act together. Bayern Munich was a reality check for Tottenham. They need creative players. The Maddison injury is a huge blow. Morgan Gibbs-White wasn't exactly Tottenham's fault. That was Nottingham Forest owner being a bit of a knob. But Thomas Frank could be the signing of the summer. I said Thomas Frank will be a problem for the rest of the Premier League if Tottenham get the signings they need to do. Because Kudus, in the 15 minutes of the Bayern Munich game I watched, I didn't watch the full game, I've been too busy with Sesko Baleba, all the Man United news, but in the 15 minutes of the Bayern Munich game I watched, Kudus was the bright spark. He was the guy causing problems. He's been the guy causing problems in pre-season. I think Sarr's been decent in pre-season as well. But that's not enough. Even across all of Tottenham's pre-season games, not just the Bayern game, which I only watched about 15-20 minutes of, Tottenham need creativity. Kulusevski injured, Maddison injured, and Morgan Gibbs-White, you've had 3 weeks to find an alternative, and it feels like you guys have done nothing. So in today's video, we're going to talk about Tottenham Hotspur. We're going to talk about what they need to do. I'm going to talk about what they've currently done, what they need to do, because Thomas Frank will be a problem to the rest of the Premier League if you give him the right signings. He will make Spurs succeed with the right signing, with the right backing. But he's not got that yet. And you don't want to waste an opportunity after winning a trophy, after sacking another manager. You don't want to waste another opportunity with a top manager coming in, because you've got a top manager in Thomas Frank, and it's not always easy to bring in top managers. There's a lack of them. And he will be the signing of the summer, Thomas Frank, if you give him the resources he needs to succeed. But right now, Tottenham aren't in a great place, which is crazy. Because on July 10th, I did a video completely praising Tottenham. I was saying I was annoyed. I was annoyed as a Man United fan because we at the time were still working on the Mbeumo deal, and Tottenham got linked to Morgan Gibbs-White that morning for the first time properly, and then got a here we go that afternoon. And I was fuming because I was saying that's a fantastic signing for Tottenham. 60 million is a steal in this current market. And how smart of Tottenham, they just got Kudus in the door, and literally the next day, they got a Morgan Gibbs-White, here we go. They triggered the release clause, they did the deal, done, business, boom. I was saying, oh my God, Tottenham, they're cooking. Brilliant stuff. But then, obviously, complicated things happened. Now, I don't think that was Tottenham's fault. I don't think that was Daniel Levy's fault. But you've had nearly a month. You probably know for about 2 weeks that Morgan Gibbs-White wasn't going to come, but you've probably had like nearly a month to prepare, and you've not brought in another number 10. And Maddison's done his ACL, and Kulusevski's already injured. Because on July 26th, you knew that he'd officially signed the new deal, that it was off. The Mr. Marinakis video. Something, maybe forced into signing a new deal wouldn't shock me, but it's over. It gets worse. Maddison comes back from injury. He's now going to miss most of the season. I'm so sad for Maddison because there's a World Cup here as well. But that's a massive blow for Tottenham. And obviously, the Maddison news only came out today. He only got injured a couple of games ago. But even with Maddison, you know he gets injured. You've needed a number 10. That's why you went for Morgan Gibbs-White. Tottenham lack creativity. And it gets worse, 4-0 to Bayern Munich. Now, you beat Arsenal, and you played incredibly well to beat Arsenal, and you showed really good defensive discipline. And this is why I praise Thomas Frank so much, because he could be a problem with the right signings. He will make you more defensively disciplined. But Thomas Frank had he had Mbeumo and Visser. Thomas Frank had Mbeumo and Visser. You don't have attackers the quality of Mbeumo and Visser fit right now at Tottenham. Because your 3 best attackers last season for me were Maddison, Kulusevski, and Solanke. None of them are fit. Kudus is in, he can be your Mbeumo. But you need your Visser. He needs somebody else in attack, but he also needs a creative 10, like a Damsgaard. You need 2 more attacking signings. Tottenham seriously need 2 more attacking signings. Because in a window where Kudus was 55 million, Morgan Gibbs-White was 60 million, you got 2 deals done beginning of the July boom. I was like, wow, Tottenham are doing business. I was bigging up Tottenham and saying, wow, I'm angry. Man United, hurry up and get Mbeumo. You looked like you were going to do some good business. You were looking ambitious. The Gibbs-White deal collapsed. All you've done since is Palhinha. That was a stopgap signing for 6. You needed 10. Maddison injured. 4-0 loss. Now, you were good versus Arsenal. You showed defensive solidity versus Arsenal. But this is the reality check. This is the reality check for Daniel Levy. He's got to go out there and start spending. He's got to go out there and start backing Thomas Frank, because the truth that nobody wants to talk about is if you don't give Thomas Frank what he needs, he's not a miracle worker. He can't go into this season with just these current players, and you can't expect him to do loads, especially with Champions League football in the games. Richarlison is not good enough. You can't go into the season with Richarlison as your striker. You'd be better off with Nicholas Jackson, who's getting a lot of stick online. Every club's fan base says they don't want him, but he'd be a big improvement on Richarlison, and people won't agree with me on that. I'm going to talk about who I think you should sign, which 2 signings I think you should make. By the way, I think you should try and go for Visser. I don't know why you're not. I think you should. But I don't know what's going on with Solanke. He's not back. But as good as you were versus Arsenal, and you were hard to break down, Bayern is always a game that you never win, but it's a reality check there. It tells you need to do stuff, because all your preseason games, you look better defensively from what I watched. I didn't watch them all. I didn't watch the Newcastle game, and I only watched 20 minutes of the Bayern game. But you were lacking creativity. The bright spot was Kudus when he got on the ball. Now, I think Kulusevski, if he can stay fit under Thomas Frank in that 10 role, will be unbelievable. But apparently he's not back till December. You're going to have to let me know if that's true or not. That's what I read online. Spurs, for me, in the 20 minutes I watched versus Bayern Munich, looked toothless. You played well versus Arsenal, but you lacked creative moments. For me, the only right spike I've seen is Sarr at moments in pre-season, and Kudus. Odegaard was good in the Arsenal game, by the way. I haven't watched all your pre-season. Vuskovic was unreal in the Reading game. I think apparently you're loaning him out, though. But Thomas Frank was great, and he organised Tottenham, and he will make Tottenham great. But Thomas Frank can't turn Richarlison and Brennan Johnson into Mbeumo and Visser. He can turn Kudus into a somewhat Mbeumo type player, maybe not the same output, but he can turn Kudus into a good player, and we're seeing signs. But he needs Visser or somebody in attack to do a job. Because I think Solanke's great, by the way. If Solanke can stay fit, if Solanke, Maddison, and Kulusevski were guaranteed to stay fit for a 38-game season, you'd probably just need one attacker, maybe just a natural left winger, yeah? Just to take the pressure off Odegaard, because I think he's young. But then you've got Odegaard and Tell. But it's injuries. Tottenham have an injury crisis, which should get better with Thomas Frank's style. Maddison's one of those where it's not Thomas Frank's fault. Yeah. Thomas Frank cannot work miracles. Solanke out, no creators. Even if Solanke's in with no creators, what do you expect him to do with no service? You need a 10. You need a striker that can cover and rotate for Solanke. You need a left wing or hybrid type attacker. That's what you need. You need, for me, basically, you need to sign 2 players in attack. But those 2 players, one of them could be an out-and-out striker, and the other one's got to be a 10. But when Kulusevski's back, could play on the left wing. For example, Eze. I don't think you're going to get Eze. If I was Tottenham, I'd literally just give Crystal Palace 70 million for Eze and do what you can for Eze. And also, if Eze says no because he wants Arsenal, and you put 70 million down for Eze, which is a slight overpayment, at least that means then Arsenal have to go up and pay that money and pay more for him. You can wind up Arsenal there. Because we had to pay more for Sesko because of the Newcastle bids. Although, we still got Sesko for like 6 million less than what Newcastle bid, which is crazy. But I think you need like a Xavi Simons, Eze type number 10 that can then go to the left wing when Kulusevski's back. The problem is, they're off the market. My recommendation right now is Njai. Maybe Njai. But I don't think Everton want to sell when they're doing mad business with dibbling everything. They're serious this year, Everton. Harvey Elliott, but he's in talks with Leipzig. I think, he's like a Cole Palmer. Isn't really getting the minutes at Liverpool, but in Klopp's last season, Harvey Elliott was fantastic. I think he got double figures for assists. He's a creative player. He's one of the most creative players in, maybe for me, daddy options. I don't think Paquetá would do enough. I mean, he's all right. Would West Ham want to sell to you again? Rodgers just doesn't seem realistic. Eze Simons doesn't seem realistic. Maybe with Levi Colwill being out for a season, Chelsea move away from Xavi Simons to put that money in defence. But I think Chelsea got a lot of money because they're making mad money in sales. It's what do Tottenham do? They need a 10. They need Solanke cover. Nicholas Jackson could be a good option, definitely overpriced. Visser, I don't know, are you not moving for it? That guy in Ligue 1 you're linked to? And also someone that can play 10 and maybe cover left wing. I mean, Harvey Elliott's not necessarily left winger, but he could have been a good 10. Fullback depth as well. What's the question there? Archie Gray can play right back, but he's very different to Porro. And then I guess you've got Jed Spence and a doggy for left back, which is good options. Van de Ven could always play there. It's not the end of the world. Attack is the problem, which is crazy because I thought defence and left centre back of Mickey Van de Ven backup would be the problem. But if Mickey Van de Ven stays fit and Romero stays fit, your defence is fine. The thing is, I think Tottenham need proven and experienced. And the options in Eze, Morgan Rogers are gone. Obviously, Mateus Cunha would have been a good option. He's gone, and Mbumo's gone. That's the problem as well that Tottenham face. Kudus is a good one. I know he didn't have the best season at West Ham last year, but I just know he's going to be good. Morgan Gibbs-White was the ideal guy, and he's gone. So the truth for me is, could this be an Ange repeat? Because Ange started well. Fans were excited. I think, Ange's first window, there was a few good signings in the door. There was players that I think were signed the year before, but then came in for the first season under Ange, like a Doggy and Saar. But you did some smart business. You got in Vicario. You got in Mickey van der Ven, which ended up being a really good signing. Bergvall came in later on, And then I just felt like, while you spent a lot of money on Ange, he was getting these injuries, and I don't think Tottenham were doing enough, and there was a lot of Werners and signings that weren't going to fix you. And Paulinho, I think, could be a good signing as a number 6 because you want to spend your money on attack, and he could do a job for the season and be good in the bigger games. But I don't necessarily think he fixes Tottenham there. I think you need a progressive passer at 6. But it's not the end of the window. So this could all change. Like, Tottenham could go and spend 200 million in the next 2 weeks. I don't think Daniel Levy would, but you could, and I could be going, wow, Tottenham are doing some serious business. And my video I make in the next week would be a completely different tone to this. But right now, if Tottenham don't bring in Thomas Frank and at least 2 quality attackers, one of which I can play number 10, he's going to fall in the Ange Postecoglou and all the managers before him trap. Because the problem at Tottenham isn't necessarily the managers, because good managers come to Tottenham and they don't always succeed. It's injuries go in, not the right signings, or money spent but not on the right players, or all of that. And the Morgan Gibbs-White situation isn't Tottenham's fault, but you've had time to look at alternatives, and maybe Tottenham are looking at alternatives, and maybe Tottenham are really close to doing a good deal, and you just haven't been linked to the player, and you're going to get a deal done out of nowhere. I remember you just weren't even linked to Odegaard, and you did a deal for him, who then got injured. But I think Odegaard's got a lot to bring this season. But I look at it and I think there needs to be some signings that are permanent, Thomas Frank signings, at least 2 more coming in on top of Kudus for the window. Because Manchester United, we just stole Newcastle's target. But I criticise Manchester United, but we've just gone and got Sesko and Mbumo and Cunha in one window and rebuilt our attack. Ruben Amorim's got no excuses. And now we're looking at Baleba in midfield. I don't know where we got this money from, because we haven't sold anyone yet, but Garnacho's about to go. But that's mad. That's mad. So, who are my picks for Tottenham? Okay, Slides disappeared there. Eze would be perfect. I think he prefers Arsenal. I would do what you could for Eze, but the problem is if he prefers Arsenal, Simmons is, I said staying put, he's going to Chelsea. He's about to go to Chelsea. That's what I meant by that. Morgan Rogers would be like 80 million, probably not realistic. Rodrigo, I don't think is going to leave Madrid. Harvey Elliott's being pursued by Leipzig. Tottenham are running out of options. I did say on Sonny's video, I think Mason Mount would be a good player for Tottenham, but the problem is you can't guarantee he stays fit. He ended the season really well for Man United. He's looked really good in pre-season. He's a good player, Mason Mount, but because you can't guarantee he stays fit, there's no point Tottenham signing him. Plus, I don't think Tottenham fans would want him. Sunset, however you say his name, good player, Athletic Bilbao. Paqueta, obviously the bets have cleared as well. And Jai, I think Jai is the best. I'd go for Harvey Elliott and Jai. If I was Tottenham, I'd try and get Harvey Elliott and Jai. I think Harvey Elliott you could maybe do. That's who I'd go for, because you've got Prem proven, you know what they can do. But what needs to happen at Tottenham? Daniel Levy's got to act now, not next month, because the transfer window will be closed. You can't wait till January to do some Timo Werner-like signings. You need a creative midfielder, you need another attacking player, maybe someone that can cover left wing. I think Odegaard's got a lot to bring, but young. Tell, I want to see him on the left. He's not a striker for me. DM was needed. Paulinho's a stopgap. He's not going to answer all your problems, but he can do a job. Get him on loan, so then the rest of your budget goes on attacking areas. Maybe a fullback or an experienced squad option, because I do think you've got a very young squad. And for me, you can't waste Thomas Frank. You have a top manager in Thomas Frank, someone that knows how to build a structure, someone that knows how to compete, someone that knows how to build a good footballing side. And you're hiring a lot of good coaches at Tottenham, and you're like Manchester United. We hire these good coaches, and then they don't succeed. And whether we spend money on the wrong players, whether it's injuries, whether it's a multitude of things, the truth is Spurs are an injury crisis away under Thomas Frank from being in trouble. Now, Thomas Frank is an upgrade on Ange. Thomas Frank could do very well at Tottenham, but you under Thomas Frank, you're an injury crisis away from trouble. The Ange injury crisis got in and you were in trouble. Now, I was looking at number 10s for Tottenham, and I have a rogue shout, and I'm going to be completely honest. I just thinking with all the number 10s I've mentioned so far being unrealistic, I don't think Tottenham need another teenager, and I don't think Tottenham need another kid. But Thomas Frank's good with kids. That sounds weird. Thomas Frank's good at developing young players. That's the best way to word it. There's a player out there that I think could be a generational player, a top 5 player in the world in the next 10 years, and in the next 6 years, and that is Rodrigo Mora. I think if worst case comes to worse, and I don't know if he's ready for the step up yet, maybe he'll struggle with the physicality of the Premier League, but if worse comes to worse, I think Tottenham just go for someone like Rodrigo Mora, see if they can do that. He's a number 10, he can play left wing, right wing, second striker. 14 goal contributions in the Portuguese league last year, one every 98 minutes. Sorry, I put 89, but it's 98. That's my bad. Should actually check my slides. Elite end product for an 18-year-old. Like, elite. He is a number 10. He is so creative. He takes risks. When he gets the ball, the way he dribbles with it, he is technically elite. You know when you look at a player and you just know his class. Dribbling, tight spaces, the low centre of gravity to remind me of Hazard. I think this guy will be in Ballon d'Or conversations in 6-7 years. This time last year, I said that Tottenham should look at Desiree Doué. I said I don't know if he's 100% ready for the step up, but I said he is one of the best young talents out there and Tottenham should look at Desiree Doué. Then a month later, you actually got linked to him because I said that in April of last year. Before anyone was talking about Desiree Doué, I said I don't know if he's ready for the step up. I don't know if he's ready for the Premier League, but he's an unbelievable player. And if Tottenham can't buy ready-made players because of competition, because of price, they should look at a Desiree Doué, but I don't know if he's ready. I'm saying the same about Rodrigo Mora. I don't know if he's ready, like I was saying about Desiree Doué last year, who proved he was ready at PSG well. But if you can't get an Njai or a Eze or a Xavi Simons, maybe you take a gamble. The problem is apparently his release clause is like £60 million, which is a lot on an 18-year-old, and he could be the next Brian Gill. But maybe you've got to take a gamble. I did a video with Sonny on his channel the other day, and we talked about the number 10 Tottenham should get, and I said I think maybe Harvey Elliott could be a Cole Palmer-esque player, and Jai if possible. But you know what? This is my new shout. Because I thought Desiree Doué may need another year, and he didn't. And I think this guy might need another year. I do think the problem is, with PSG, he can go in and he doesn't start right away and he learns from good players. At Tottenham, with Maddison and Kulusevski out, you're relying on him right away to make an impact, and that's not the best thing for a young player. They need to almost be moulded in. That's the only big problem. You've also recently been linked to Nicholas Jackson at striker, and a lot of Tottenham fans are being negative about it, but it's an upgrade on Richarlison. I think he's a better player than he gets credit for. You know, maybe not necessarily who you want, but an upgrade. Anyway, thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.